Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 and thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And Sarah appeared the visual podcast. My name is Sarah, and I'm appearing before you right now because, I honestly want to let anyone who's just starting out on any new adventure, any new business venture, any new idea, any new level of creativity that they're doing. I believe in doing anything that you do from your heart, you know, from excellency. But I also do believe that excellency is getting started and then improving on top of what you've done. Because I'd rather operate from a novice standpoint and then build myself up to expertise than not start something at all, despite criticism or despite being called, you know, mediocre or despite doing things in a disheveled way until you realize or until you get the rhythm of your project down so packed that it's kind of like you have to challenge yourself to get into the next arena because you've mastered what your project or what your creation should look like. Um, you've mastered your aesthetic. And so, although excellency in those areas are like needed, and you should do everything in an excellent way, don't despise your humble beginnings. It's going to be choppy, but do it anyways. There's going to be times where you're going to have to take out, you know, you're going to have to take out times to learn new technique, new skill. Really immerse yourself in whatever it is that you want to do, but produce what you want to do because nothing will ever be quite perfect. And improve on what you have and then improve however that improvement is. If your thing is like, YouTube videos or TikTok or whatever your thing is, like do what your thing is because here's what I've learned. Cuz this is like a volcano of whatever it is that I'm doing that's erupting from years of creativity lying dormant in me, right? And suppressing the urge to be able to express myself because it's like spiritually not being able to speak up or not being able to um have really much of an opinion, and when you do it's always like, I don't know, people always get offended by it. So it's like with that, oh no, her hair is so pretty. I'm sorry, I'm like outside and I'm like enjoying um my time outside um and I'm thinking and I'm speaking to God and I'm letting him influence me and I'm letting him, I'm listening. I'm actively listening. And I think had I not been actively listening to God, back in June when he told me like I want you to start your podcast, I mean, had I not been actively listening, I would probably have some hesitations as well with starting off and really not knowing the arena of what I'm getting into. But here's the thing about this. I, because haven't done anything that kind of showed off my creative expression or like allowed me to express myself in so long, that I was ready and down for anything. I really didn't have that fear when it came to starting my podcast because I didn't have a concept of fear. Because it's like I haven't done anything like this before, so why not? There was literally no concept of what could go wrong. It was like a childlike wonder. And when it comes to the instructions of God, I'm finding out that in his obedience and in his instructions, we have to have childlike wonder. And that's really hard in different placements of your life. Like, you might have childlike wonder when it comes to creativity and certain changes that you make and things that you do on a creative end, but relationally you have hesitations and you don't have that childlike wonder. You have, barriers, and you have different things that you need to assess before you make any kind of full throttle commitment. And then you might be good in that area where you're able to keep that childlike wonder because you know what God told you. But in a whole nother area, you have hesitation. And I think it's important when I look at it from that end, I know at that point I have that like humanism thing where I'm like, okay, well, I know that I'm not the only person that deals with this. So I have to be like empathetic and compassionate towards other people wherever their shortcomings are, because I don't think I'm the only one. And that's another thing with my platform. I wanted to show the human side of Christianity. Like, a lot of, I don't know, from what I observe, a lot of denominations, and a lot of like groups and like different organizations and tribes within um mainstream church, like a lot of them that like really cultivate their own they really cultivate like their own brand, or they really, not their brand, but they cultivate, I believe God gives brands. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I believe God gives, like, there's distinctive things that you can point out and say this, that's that tribe. When I think of like church, and when I think in the terms of like tribes and stuff like that. So that's just the verbiage I'm using. But there's certain distinct, and I think it's also spiritual too. I think in the spirit, like, you can see like certain distinct like brands of people or essence of people, and it's like, that's them. That's them all over. Like, oh, we know what tribe that is. Oh, okay, like, we know. I'm outside, so if you hear music, it is what it is. I love it when people play music loud. I do. I think it's a sign of life. A lot of people be like, "Oh, you don't have a problem." No, like my neighbors, they bump their music like every Friday night. They bump it anytime they want to, but every Friday around 2 o'clock, music blasting through the house, and yeah, they do a good, like, it be loud. But I feel like it's just a sign of life. I feel like it brings color. Like, it brings color and flavor into the neighborhood. I don't know. And I love the fact that they're like Caribbean, Spanish, black. Like, I love it. So I love diversity. But yeah, just going down into it, like, I think that some of the um some of the churches and some of the organizations who have that more raw surrealism kind of aesthetic to their ministry, where they don't have a lot of like glitz, they don't have a lot of glam, they don't have a lot of, you know, they don't have a lot of what I would call big band. Like, they don't, I don't know, like, they have their own like raw like surrealism that comes from the image that they're trying to portray. They're coming, like, they're real about their vulnerability. Like, they're not afraid to be vulnerable, and they're not afraid to like kind of say it how it is. But then at the same time, I think also some of the tribes and the organizations within the church that do have, the glitz, the glam, that go all out, that are just exuberant in every expression of Christ that they allowed to breathe through their ministry. I think like they're also real in their own way as well. Like they just express Christ in a different way. And that's where like I don't understand how we and this is real, like people don't talk about it, but like sometimes we be having denominational beef, or sometimes if it's like not even a denomination, but sometimes it's just like there's like brand beef in the church, or there's like tribe beef, and it's like, no, we all working towards a common goal, which is to win as many souls for Christ as we can. So I don't think it's cool if we have division or beef or strife because of something that can literally be talked about. I think they need to start bringing back panel discussions, or not panel discussions. You know what? Because we need to have like intimate, outside, outdoors settings where people just talk about, not in depth, but in like, I don't know, like in segment where like people in the clergy just get real about and talk about some of the things that they like that they deal with relationally with other people who are in the clergy. Like how do they not how do they navigate those relationships? How do they keep them, and how do they know when to throw them away? And that's one of your colleagues. That's what I like to see. That's what moments like this is for. It's for that human point. We walk by the Spirit. We're transformed by the Spirit. We're renewed by the Spirit. We put off the old man and we put on the new man. But I think we forget that man is still man. Man is still man. And we we cannot shy away from the vulnerability. We can't shy away from the human spots. We can't shy away from, and for the most part I think this generation of like preachers, pastors, prophets, bishops, teachers, apostles, you know, whatever. I think I'm missing some. What, missionary or evangelist? Evangelist, I think. But I would feel like the time and age that I'm in right now, there is not only like depth and variety and clarity of what's coming from the pulpit, and I really do hear like I I guess this is, I don't know, I guess this is a thing where people kind of get offended like if you listen to like a variety of like ministers, but I I have like five of them that I listen to regularly, and their voices are all different, but all correspond with what God is trying to say or trying to get through. Like it all makes sense. I don't listen to everybody, but there are some voices that I listen to, and it's like, okay, yeah. And it's like, and it doesn't matter. Like also for me, like, yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah. It doesn't matter with um what background they come from or what race they are. I don't care about any of that. I just want to, like, I don't care about any of that. I want to just know, like, how do we apply this wisdom? How do we apply this knowledge? It's not enough for me to get knowledge. It's not even enough for me to have any kind of epiphany or revelation about something if I don't know how to apply it. And that's what the clergy is for, to give you practical tools interpreted by the mind and the heart of God on how to apply the knowledge that you have, how to apply the revelation that you have, what to do with it. Sometimes some things can't be released until later. You know, that's what they're there for. They just listen to God better. That's kind of one of the requirements. But with that being said, I'm glad I listened to God when it came to starting this platform. And the more that I continue creating, the better it is, because not only am I able to spread his message of salvation, but he loves me so much that I'm able to express myself and express my story of redemption through his salvation. So at this point, it's like the best of both worlds. It's me coming into the real me, the authentic me, but also showing that I don't have it all figured out. I don't have it all together. I'm not perfect, but God still says that I'm worth it. Jesus still says that I'm worth it. And he's saying that you're worth it too. It doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter if you have a backing or not. It doesn't matter if you're doing this organically. It doesn't matter what it is. Just get started. Just do it. Just get started. Do it, because it's a part of your gift, and it's also a part of you giving your gift back to God.